Hi everyone, मैं हूं Ishan and I am in the heart of Gurugram at DLF Cyber Park. I am here to show you the future of education and learning. One of the best and the most interesting undergraduate programs of the country is what we'll be looking at Masters Union. I have made a separate video talking about this exact program. आपके बहुत सारे उसमें comments थे, so I thought let me give you a tour of the campus and show you what it's all about. So चलिए चलते हैं. So this is the space where you will be learning about both tech as well as business. As you can see, this is what the campus looks like. Pratham, welcome to the video.
Thank you
How
so
are you
much.
doing there?
I'm good. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you so much. So you've been working in this space of new age learning. What do you think is the problem with traditional education in general? And what do you think needs to be fixed right now in India?
Yeah. So let's start with the numbers, right? Today, there are 1 crore students who enter into higher education every year. Okay, 1 crore. Out of which only 10 lakh are engineers. And 5 lakh are all of your law, MBBS, journalism, everything combined is 5 lakhs. And 85 lakhs is BCom, BBA and BA students, okay? Now, out of these 85 lakh, only 12,000, that's 0.14% of students actually get a job that pays more than 5 lakh rupees.
Right.
And 5 lakh rupees is basic necessity to pay rent in any major city.
Right. Especially in Delhi.
Delhi specifically, but even Bangalore, Bombay is even
Bangalore
worse.
Is more expensive.
Bangalore is even more expensive, right? So that is the size of the problem, right? And there are 2 or 3 reasons why our institutions today are not able to train the students for jobs or even to create their own businesses, right? The first is that all of our systems, all of the education systems are based on memorization and then examination. Right, so there is a syllabus that is given to the student. The student is supposed to learn that syllabus. Right, it is like almost the student is an empty glass,
right,
and the syllabus is a full jug of syllabus, and that jug of syllabus is being poured into the student glass.
Overflowed.
Right, it sometimes is overflowing, But there is no point. In reality, education should be that a student is a candle, and your job as a teacher or an institution is to light that candle.
Right.
Make sense?
Makes sense.
It's not about the syllabus. It should be about the curiosity. It should be about the excitement of learning, right? So I think the biggest problem with education is that it's everything about memorization and nothing about curiosity. It's not about self-reflection. I'll give you an example. If you are to teach somebody how a refrigerator works, there are 2 ways to do it. One is you give that person a broken refrigerator, okay, and say you go fix it.
Right.
So he's now given a problem, the student or she's given a problem. And now they have to go and fix the problem. Very engaging, very interesting. Right. They will break the fridge. They might fix it, they might not, but they will learn something. The other way to teach how to fix a fridge is that I tell you, come here. Here's a screwdriver. Now first learn how a screwdriver works.
Right.
Now learn how a vernier caliper works. Which
breaking problems down and thinking from first principles.
Not even, but the thing is, you're being taught how to use linear equations without being told what this linear equation will be used for.
Right.
You're being taught how to use a screwdriver, but what will you use a screwdriver for is not being taught to you. So right now, our education system gives you the tools, but doesn't teach you the problem.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
So I think a better way to teach how to fix a refrigerator is to give a broken refrigerator and let the student just play with it, versus start teaching the student how to use a screwdriver. And you will kill the student's motivation. Then मैं screwdriver करके क्या करूँगा मैं मुझे बताओ.
Right.
You'll kill the motivation. Start, for example, dy dx. And you're an engineer, right?
Yeah.
I remember we did these complex linear equations. I at least never used them later in my life. I did a lot of engineering work, but I never used them later in my life. So
exactly.
And when I was being taught linear equations, I did not know what I'm learning them for, other than to pass the exam.
Yeah. I think I'm the perfect example of that thing that you just talked about. I just did not see that application in my own life for whatever I was learning in my college, and that's why I decided to drop out of college and travel the world and meet people and experience and learn through that way. So that's amazing. The second question I had was that what do you think are the skills important for people to thrive in this new economy, right? We've seen the AI wave come, and the first thing it is taking away are the creative jobs, right? Like It can be creating pictures, videos, now code as well. So what do you think will really be the future of work, and what skills cannot exactly be replaced?
Yeah, there are 4 things that I believe cannot be replaced. First is the skill to know how to work with other people. Okay, collaboration is something, it's actually a skill.
Right.
A lot of people cannot work with other people. They can only work alone. If they work with other people, they have ego issues and they have other issues, right? And it's a skill how to overcome those issues and work collaboratively and effectively in a team, right? And jitne bhi hamara education system hai aaj tak India mein, what it does is that it teaches you to be an individual contributor. Apna exam karo, apna assignment karo, copy nahi karna hai dusre ka.
Right.
It doesn't teach you collaboration. So the first thing, I think that skill is needed, will never go out of fashion, and is needed more today than ever before, is collaboration. Second is writing. Okay, if you ask me one difference between the US education system and Indian education system, is that in the US, students are trained to write from a very early age. In India, we are never trained to write. We are trained to reproduce the book in the exam.
Right.
So how to break down a problem, how to structure it, how to start with an intro and then have 4 reasons and then have an Astorian order and then have a conclusion in a way that makes sense to the actual reader. We don't train for that in India.
I remember, whenever I was in the SST class, social studies, they used to literally take the NCERT book and take the answers as the entire book, paragraph. And all that. So it was basically like we were rote memorizing 80% of the whole chapter itself.
So we never learn how to write.
Yeah.
We never learn how to write in India, right? So I think second skill that will never go out of fashion, no matter what ChatGPT comes, no matter what Bing search, what's happening now with Google Bard, etc. At the end of the day, if you can write well, that's going to help you. If ChatGPT can write as well as you, then you have to write better.
Right.
But writing will never stop. Then you have to be able to write an email. You have to be able to write a story. You'll have to be able to. Okay, so all of that. Third is executive presence. Okay, I'll tell you what I mean by executive presence. When you walk into a room, do people notice you? Right? And that's a skill. How you walk, how you sit, how you dress, how you speak, how you modulate your tone, when you start speaking like this and when do you softly come back. All of these things are skills. Right? It's partly communication, it's partly body language. But again, no matter what robot comes, what ChatGPT comes, the sense of executive presence, that skill will never go.
Right.
Do you agree with me on that?
I definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah. And you've met so many founders, you would have seen that, right? Like some have this quality that they own the room.
Yeah. Like I met Ritesh Agarwal the other day, and he was actually staying in an OYO itself.
Yeah.
Right. So when he walked in the door and everyone was, talking to him, and we could actually sense that power dynamic. Like he is here to, tell everyone about what is to come in OYO and how can we work towards building a better company. So that's definitely.
And the final thing, that's a skill that can never be overtaken. Is structured problem solving. Okay, there are 2 ways to solve a problem. Right? If I say, we have to create a new business plan for selling iPhones. Okay, whatever. Either you can just start writing the business plan, or you can structure it. You will ask me questions. Okay, how many cell phones do you want to sell? How do you want to sell them? Is your final target revenue or number of phones sold, or is it profit? So breaking down the problem into different sub-problems, structuring them, and then going down that order and solving them, that is also a skill. This is a very underrated skill.
Right.
People don't understand. People just start solving the problem. So for example, let's say there are 2 armies. Let's say your army and my army, and we are fighting with each other. Either we can just go into each other and start fighting, head on. But that's not how wars are fought.
Right.
Wars are fought strategically, right? They say, okay, एक आदमी को यहाँ से भेजो, एक आदमी को यहाँ से भेजो, एक को ऊपर से भेजो, एक को नीचे से भेजो, एक को ऐसे करो, correct?
Right. Reminds me of Clash of Clans.
Yeah, there you go. It's structured problem solving. You have to be strategic. We are not taught that. We think that that's not a skill. We think that's inborn. It's sub skills.
Awesome, wonderful. I have so many questions for you, but let's actually walk and talk about them.
Sure.
So we are in one of the classrooms of Masters Union, and a lot of questions were there in the first video that I did about Masters Union itself. So let's ask them to Pratham. Now the first question people were asking were about the placement numbers, right? Yeah. So we've already seen the great placement numbers from the PGP program, but what about the UG program, and how similar will be the numbers over here in this case?
Yeah. No, I think they'll be exactly the same because of a few reasons. First, it's exactly the same teachers who are teaching. It's exactly the same courses that are being taught. Maybe they'll start with a bit more basic information, but the program is also 4 years long. It's exactly the same campus. It's exactly the same curriculum, the same out-class challenges, the same in-class challenges. So the input that we're giving to the student is exactly the same. and the same teachers are giving that input. So because of that, and it's also the same recruiters. So, one thing we realized in our PGP program also, that we have students who are freshers and we have students who come with 5-6 years of experience in the MBA program, right? And there is absolutely no salary difference between the averages of experienced students and the average of the fresher students. And we believe that once our UG program finishes in 3-4 years, when the first batch will graduate, even then the difference will be insignificant. And the companies themselves do not discriminate.
Right.
The companies do not care. They just want good talent. They don't care whether that talent is 21 years old or 27 years old. They only care about the skills that that talent has. They don't really care about whether it's a UG program or a PG program. Company को अपना काम करना है. तो जैसे भी उनका काम best हो जाए. So it's very, very interesting. Companies hardly care.
Makes sense. One more question people had was about why are the UG programs so expensive, right? Like that's the biggest question people had in the comment section. So what do you have to say for that?
No, I don't think it's expensive actually. So, you have to look at it with respect to the competition or with respect to the other options that people have. So if you look at, and we are competing directly head on with, let's say, the IIM Indore IPM program. That program in itself, the 5-year program is, I think, almost 25% more expensive than us. Even though it's a government program.
Right.
It's around 40 lakhs, I think. More than 40 lakhs. We are lesser than 40 lakhs. So if you do like-to-like comparison, I think we are much cheaper. If you look at Ashoka University, if you look at, some of the other ones in that field, we are cheaper than all of them. So, at the end of the day, we don't want to compromise on the quality of education. We don't want to compromise on the kind of teachers we have. We don't want to compromise on the kind of brands that the teachers come from. We have teachers from Harvard, Wharton, Stanford. We have teachers who are CEOs and MDs of all these large companies, So we want to make sure that nothing stops them from coming. And I think the price point that we currently have allows us to do that. And it's very competitive against the IIM, IPM programs, as well as the Ashoka, etc. universities. That's number one. Number two, if you compare it to the outcomes that the students get after they graduate, that is also something you have to keep in mind, right? What is the average salary that the students are able to get after? And, we have always said that the students should have a 1-year payback period. Okay, what does that mean? That means that if you've given a fees of 30 lakhs or 35 lakhs, then the salary that you get after you graduate should also be 30 to 35 lakhs.
Right.
And that's something we have maintained in our PGP program.
That's in the placement numbers.
That's in the placement numbers. So we want to continue with that. So, when you look at an investment, you have to look at it in context of the ROI, not just an investment in itself.
Right. Makes sense. Let's ask more questions while we walk around the campus.
Sure.
So guys, this is the food court. As you can see around you, there's a great place to have food, to sit, to chat with friends, and to have a great time after a long lecture and a long day. So as you can see, they have most of the outlets, KFC, there are more over there.
So you can see that is the Samsung headquarters.
Right.
So that's where the the CXOs of Samsung are located, and this is Aviva, the company, the insurance company. It's their headquarters, and that is Masters Union.
Right.
So that kind of learning that happens is very,
How
very
close
integral.
it is to the companies as well.
Yeah.
So this is Tower A.
This is Tower A. This is where a lot of the classes take place. So this is where a lot of the students hang out.
Right.
And this is our common area where a lot of the events take place.
Awesome.
So you can see the stage here, and it doubles as an auditorium.
Right.
This is like a nice screen, and then generally these chairs are rearranged to make it into an auditorium.
Right.
Otherwise, this is a hangout place.
Awesome. Tell me a bit about the scholarships that are available as well.
Yeah, so because we want to make sure that we get the best students, we have launched a scholarship program whereby almost 75% of all students will be getting some form of scholarship. Anywhere between 100% scholarship to 25% scholarship. And we just want to make sure that finances are never an issue. To get a good education, at least in India, and at least with Masters Union. Let me show you a classroom that we have.
Yeah, sure. What's interesting is that the names of these classrooms are also very different.
Yeah.
This one is annual recurring revenue, and this click-through rate.
That's
some
CAC.
CAC.
This one is GMV. This is a dangerous one.
GMV, gross merchandise value.
Yeah. And just look at, this is one of our classrooms.
Right.
And again, the classrooms are
It's very different from what.
yeah, it's very different. It's very unique, right? It brings the teacher very close to the student. The teachers are not some distant, personalities. They're very approachable personalities, and the classroom structure also makes it conducive to that.
Right.
So this is a casual-ish classroom. We also have like formal classrooms, of course, which is something like this. This is a smaller classroom with maybe 20-30 students only.
Right.
And you can see that our whiteboards are wall to wall. And what this ensures is that in case one student misses the class and they want to come in online, then the teacher can actually see the student very clearly on the screen.
Very interesting.
Right. So no one misses the class ever. Also, all the classes are recorded. You can see these cameras on top.
Right.
There's one camera here and there's one camera here, and these are all motion tracking. So if someone raises their hand, the camera will zoom into them.
Oh, wow.
Works out really well.
Amazing. So, one question people had was about the acceptance rate at Masters Union as well. So, shed some light about that on that as well.
Yeah, so I think our acceptance rate usually hovers around anywhere between 5 to 10%, depending on which round you apply in. The idea is that we want to make sure that the fit with the program is correct.
Right.
So if you're open to learning, if you are excited about learning, if you appreciate what we are doing at Masters Union, then you're more than welcome.
Very interesting.
So you can get a sense of the classroom. There's a class starting soon.
Very interesting. That's the teacher? Yeah. Oh, great.
So that teacher, and whose class we just bumped into, he's a teacher from Cornell, and he's teaching a course on family business.
Very interesting.
So he's flown over.
That's very different from what the normal classes are about, like when I go to other courses and all.
Yeah.
So one more question people had was, talked about the acceptance rate. One more thing that people were asking about, that MU sounds like a startup, right? Like, are you well funded for the 4-year program, and will there be any hindrance of any sort going further? And what about the degree, and how important will that degree be in the future?
Yeah. I mean, we are a new business school, but I don't think we are a startup.
Right.
Startups is generally used in the context of tech companies, but we are not a tech company. We are an institute, right? We have a very energetic team. And so in that sense, we are startup-like, but we are not a startup. We are very well funded. We have funding from over 200 CXOs, the entire list of which is on our website. And most of the CEOs also teach, right? So the investors actually teach, and similar was the case with ISB.
Right.
Similar was the case with Plaksha, Ashoka. They were all founded by a bunch of CEOs, CXOs who came together to start the campus, start the university. So similar is the case with us. And your second question was about the degree. What we have come up with is a very interesting structure whereby you get a degree from University of Delhi. So our program is carefully aligned with the BMS program in University of Delhi. So at the end of the program, not only do you get a degree from the University of Delhi, you also get a certificate from Masters Union, right? And that Masters Union certificate holds the same value that our PGP certificate holds, which is where, Bain, BCG, McKinsey, Google, Facebook, Microsoft all recruit from. So I think you get the best of both worlds. You get a degree that is so valuable in the Indian ecosystem, but you also get a transformative education in the form of the Masters Union experience.
Awesome, amazing.
So this is one of our smaller auditoriums.
Right.
There we go.
So Pratham, one more question people had was that most of my audience and people who are watching the video are from the JEE background, right? So they've been very much science, engineering focused. So is this program the right fit for them? Because, it also has the business aspect to it. So are they prepared for it exactly?
Yeah, so one thing that we realized is that you have a lot of engineering schools in India and you have a lot of BBA programs in India. But what the world actually needs is a combination of the two. It needs the best of both of them to come together. Only then can you create entrepreneurs of tomorrow. Only then can you create the consultants of tomorrow. So you need to bring maybe 50% of tech and 50% of business. And that's what this program does. So you will be taught coding and you will be taught marketing. And you can use both of those learning in the other domain and craft a beautiful career out of for yourself. So I think that is what this program does. So it's relevant for both people who are wanting to be engineers and people who are wanting to be on the business side of things. But the future belongs to those who know both.
Right. Just like what Naval used to say, learn to sell, learn to code.
Yeah.
And then you will be unstoppable.
Exactly. And the reason we started this program is because I did a similar program at Penn. When I was in Penn, we did a dual degree program, which was partly in Wharton and partly in the School of Engineering. And that was one of the most popular programs.
So one more question people are having is that, do they need to do an MBA after doing this program?
See, the thing is that you can, right? The way the program is structured is that we are teaching everything that we teach in MBA at the undergrad level. Okay. But the MBA, what it provides is also a network. right? So my suggestion to students would be that if you want to do an MBA after this program, it is not necessary, but if you want to do it, you should do it abroad. Maybe at a top, like a Wharton or a Harvard or a Stanford. And what we have done is that we have made sure that the GMAT inputs that are required to be able to crack those universities are given as part of this program at the undergrad level. After this program, no point in doing an MBA in India. Definitely not. I think you would be overqualified for that. But definitely if you want to build an international network for yourself, then perhaps you can go to maybe the top 5 MBA programs globally.
Awesome. Let's keep walking.
Yeah.
Pratham, one question that people were having about the program was that, is it comparable to the business degrees people would do outside of India? So what do you think about that?
I think it's very interesting. Outside of India, there is no such thing as a business degree. Outside of India, especially in the US, you can craft your own program. You can take aspects of business, you can take aspects of engineering, you can combine the two. That is the beauty. Majors, minors, dual majors. So this program is essentially half business and half engineering, right? So it's good for students who are thinking about becoming engineers and good for students who are thinking about starting their own business or working in a business or a management consulting sort of a position. So it's equivalent to an international program because the program itself is so international. But if you had to compare it to an Indian program, I would say it's, let's say, like an SRCC BBA meets like an IIT engineering, you know, sort of the best of both.
Pratham, one great thing about the program that I had a look at was the applied learning that you focused upon. As we just touched upon in the starting of this talk, the strategic problem solving is most important. That is not taught right now in the traditional education system.
Correct.
So how does this degree exactly help you with that?
Sure. So yeah, what happens in colleges worldwide is that students learn something in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, but they can only start to apply their learnings once they graduate. And what happens is by the time they graduate 4 years later, they have forgotten everything that they learned in class, right? So what we wanted to do was combine learning in classroom and applying outside classroom in the same year itself. So in Masters Union, what happens is that in term 1, so each of our terms are 3 months long, okay? So in term 1, which is quarter 1, you take classes. And in quarter 2, you do an outclass challenge where you get to apply the learnings from term 1 in term 2. So for example, in term 1, students study accounting, they study programming, they study marketing, they study management. And whatever they have learned in term 2, in quarter 2, they actually have to build a drop shipping project of their own where they have to build their own website, where they have to sell their own products online, like a proper e-commerce store. Now, whatever they've learned in classes, they can apply next term itself.
Right.
They will not forget anything. And then in term 3, quarter 3, they again have some classes. And in term 4, quarter 4, they have to do the YouTube challenge where they have to all become creators, right? And actually have to try and monetize. And you tell me, how was your learning experience building your YouTube channel?
There were a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
If I had a program that would, tell me a lot of things in advance, I would have saved time.
Yeah. So in each alternate term, as part of the undergrad program, you have an outclass challenge where you get to apply your learnings from the in-class, from the previous term, right? So there's a chance where you get to travel abroad, where you get to immerse yourself in a foreign country and work in a company there. There is a module where you have to essentially intern at a company while you're still studying. There's a module where you even have to work in a McDonald's.
Right.
There's a module where you have to go to Cambodia and work in a biogas plant, right? So all of these outclass learnings are what bring the practical aspect, right? And that's how the classes also become more lively, more enriched. So that's our in-class, out-class sort of integrated program.
Awesome. Wonderful. So Pratham, another question people had was about the campus space being enough, right? We are currently in Tower A, we've been in Tower C, we've also had a look at the auditorium as well. So is this space going to be enough? Do we have any plans to expand? Are there going to be any problems with the leases in the future?
No, this space is huge. I mean, as you can see, and there are a lot of companies that are in this building, and so they bring a lot of valuable resources, right? And so we don't want to go far away from them because then the learning reduces. So the space that we have is more than enough. It's bigger than I think most colleges that actually exist. And we have our hostel, which is not that far, right? So everyone can also stay together if they wish to. So I think between this space and the hostel, I think we have more than enough that we need. And in terms of lease, these are all long-term, very, very long, 30-year leases, etc. So I don't think we're going to move at least for the next 90 to 100 years. That's at least my lifetime. I think we're going to be here.
Right.
And it's a very nice space, as you can imagine. And, all the companies, like you saw, Samsung was right there and Aviva was right there. That learning is just way too valuable to move to any other location, And, the space is large enough.
Wonderful. At the end, I want to show you this auditorium that's also a part of the Masters Union campus, where we saw sharks like Ashni Grover and Ghazal talk about how to build businesses. So this was the entire video where I showed you exactly what the campus is about. I shared all of the experiences that students had, as well as video ke end mein humne baat kari about Pratham and his idea for the future of education. So if you have any more questions, let me know in the comment section about Masters Union and the UG program. You can click the link in the description to learn more about it. I will see you all in the next video. You can share this video with your friends. You can tag me on Instagram at Ishan Sharma 790. I will see you all in the next video.